Tonight on Joynews Prime, the Supreme Court has ruled as unconstitutional a recommendation by the Chinrihese Committee for the creation of pension packages for MPs. But the former MP say the law must be amended.
If anything, it has to be amended. Otherwise, no member of parliament will ever have any pension. It's rather sad.
We have some more reactions for you. Security analyst cautions against the continued use of the military in elections in Ghana, saying it is gradually undermining the country's democracy.
Elections, there is no role for any military. We saw it during the American elections.
Former President Mahama has been explaining the NDC's Faninyina initiative to absorb the fees of students who gain admission to tertiary institutions should the party win next Monday's election.
Our education committee, came up with a recommendation and said that the fees that the first years have to pay are quite bigger than what the continuing students pay. And so if you do the Chimpe policy, they are not likely to benefit as much as the continuing students. And so we should do something more, significant for them.
But the governing MPP insists the promise is a scam.
This is an ill-conceived campaign promise smuggled through the back door to add up to the litany of failed and uninspiring manifesto promises.
On the campaign trail, former President Mahama is in the OT region.
Don't be intimidated. We notice that there's been a deployment of military and security personnel in the region.
While President Akufo-Addo is in the eastern region.
Upper West Action, Mometra Solo Soda, Tambia, Mushatiana, Latiniano, Afi, Tokrobukwa.
Yes.
Significant shareholder approval to buy back over 1 million shares.
Objective now is to return the cash to them, including the dividends they've accrued, just to be fair. And hopefully some of them will see the announcement and update their KYC before the process begins.
My name is Israelai, and Joynews Prime is coming to you live from our Fast Studios at Kokumlimli here in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air, and also on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. This is a home of independent, fearless, credible, and impactful journalism. The Supreme Court has ruled as unconstitutional a recommendation of the Chinrihese Committee seeking to create pension packages for MPs. The ruling deals a huge blow to the quest by some former MPs for the state to pay them pensions. The unanimous decision by the 7-member panel of the court ruled that the former MPs cannot make any such claims. The court, in another case brought before it, also ruled that the Auditor General lacked legal authority to search out Zoomlion in its contract with the Ministry of Health, amounting to some 184 million cedis. Joynews' Kweku Asante reports the rulings coincided with the retirement of Supreme Court Judge Justice Sule Badegbe.
The Supreme Court on Thursday delivered judgments on two very important issues. First, the attempt by some 43 former members of parliament to get government to pay them 233,000 Ghana cedis each was thrown out by the Supreme Court. In a unanimous decision, the court noted that the Constitution did not intend to create pensions. The court explained is different from pensions. The court therefore ruled that it was unconstitutional for the Chinrihese Committee set up by President Kufuor in 2008 to have sought to create a pension package for MPs. These 44 former members of parliament are all demanding 233,495 Ghana cedis each, which they claim had accrued to them as monthly pension pay since January 2009. The amount being claimed by these former members of parliament is originally 13,735 cedis. Each of these former MPs every month, but claim the interest accruing during these 85 months raises the amount to 233,000 cedis each. SK Boafo is one of the former MPs and is calling for an amendment of the Constitution.
That's what the court has said. There's nothing I can do. We are only entitled to our gratitude. That's what they said. They said Henry's report was unconstitutional. So therefore, we have nothing to say. But it's good we have challenged the law. I mean, the law is, you know, if anything, it has to be amended. Otherwise, no member of parliament will ever have any pension.
On the second issue, the Supreme Court ruled that the Auditor General lacked the legal authority to surcharge Zoom Lion Ghana Limited. The court held that the powers of the Auditor General to surcharge could not have been extended to Zoom Lion Ghana Limited in this case. 184 million cedi surcharge by the Auditor. The Auditor General issued a surcharge and disallowance against Zoom Lion in 2018 for a fumigation exercise contract it carried out for the Ministry of Health, but this exercise was paid for by the National Health Insurance Authority. The Auditor General, Daniel Domilevo, contended that Zoom Lion continued to receive payment for the fumigation exercise from NHIA, even when the contract between the latter and the Ministry of Health was for a 4-year period. Meanwhile, Justice Nasiru Suleiman Agbadegbe retired as Supreme Court Justice today. To him, it was an honor of his life to have helped shape Ghana's constitutional dispensation.
I have helped to develop and clarify the law on many occasions. That's part of our business, and also giving effect to various provisions of the Constitution that others think never existed.
Deputy Attorney General Godfred Yebo Adame paid glowing tribute to the retiring judge.
I'll just remember him, as I said, for his mastery of the rules of civil procedure and his command in virtually every department of the law. He was known as a very distinguished judge. The most important virtue of a judge is his knowledge and understanding of the law. And as Badebe, without a doubt, demonstrated all of this.
Well, presidential candidate of the PNC, David Apasera, is one of the former MPs who was hoping to draw pensions from the state. He has described the ruling as unfortunate, arguing it is one of the reasons Ghana's parliament remains weak.
Committee to go, and if the committee so decided that MPs should take pension, they were within the constitutional frame. I don't understand what they have decided to do, but the weakening part of it is that the members of parliament become so depressed, so stressed out. You can see a whole lot of MPs dying left and right. They can't even go to source medical treatment, and they are denying pension. It weakens the democracy that we have.
Tamale Central MP Nusaf Hussaini, who leaves Parliament next month, disagrees MPs are entitled to pension.
The second thing is that pensions are regulated by the Pensions Act, and anybody who contributes towards his pension is entitled to draw from the contributions. So it's not about when you leave Parliament. Have you attained the retirement age? Were you a contributor to the pension fund? Was your employer implementing the contribution you were making? Have you reached the age entitled to draw on contributions that you have made? These are the questions that I think we should be asking. Because it's not pro bono. It is not gratuitous. You pull the sources together. Pensions are founded on the principle of intergenerational activity, that we contribute for those who are gotten to retirement now, and young persons will have to contribute for those who are contributing now. That is just the principle behind pension, intergenerational equity. And so the question to ask is, will members of parliament pay some money towards their pension? And if they do, does their employer implement whatever money that they pay? And at what age are they entitled to draw on the money that they have been contributing? And if you look at the pay slip of members of parliament, they contribute every month to the pension. Parliament complements whatever contributions they make. And so at the age that entitled to draw the contributions, they should be so accessible. If not, for what have they been paying every month towards the pension?
The former military head is cautioning against the involvement of soldiers in the polls, warning it is gradually undermining Ghana's democracy. Colonel Festus Wahin Abuaji retired and insists that police should be solely responsible for the exercise. He details his point in his latest book, The Ghana Voter Registration 2020, Dynamics and Risk of Political Contestation in an Emerging Democracy. The book studies the events of the 2020 voter registration exercise and how that could affect the upcoming election. Colonel Abuaje says election security is a crucial aspect of the election that stakeholders must not take for granted.
In democratic elections, there is no role for any military. We saw it during the American elections. We all saw CNN and other international media, and you didn't see any American soldiers, those deployed to Afghanistan, you didn't see them at the ballot stations. You saw federal police, you saw state police. The U.S. has different types of law enforcement agencies. Now here, we have gradually come to think that the military is part of any security architecture or security arrangement within the country, which is not the case. And there is a risk. The more we allow the military to be involved in election security, the more likely that we undermine our democratic elections. And it's something that I think we need to pay attention.
Dean of Academic Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Dr. Vladimir Enchidanso, is urging the police to be circumspect in the discharge of their duties.
Well, basically, if you look at the world today, there is hardly any democratic elections or any elections that is incident-free. All you can do is to mitigate or try to draw this kind of thing down. At the last minute like this, what we can do is to continue with the peace effort that we're talking about, continue encouraging the Electoral Commission to do what is right, and to encourage also the peace officers, especially the police, who will be built to monitor and help bring the peace, to do their work as pertains per the Constitution. They shouldn't be part of any thing that will mar the beauty of the elections. So we'll still continue to preach and say that elections are not a do and die affair. Go vote, go back to your house. By all means, somebody would win. And the winner does not mean that Ghana is dead. So just go, sleep, listen to the results. If everything has been done perfectly well, Ghana goes on.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament said Kwame Echampong agrees that politicians should conduct themselves well to keep the peace.
It is not surprising because the enterprise is politics, and it is out of it that emanate all these conversations. So it is with the human society. All that we all have to do is to respect the laws that we have enacted. And I'm glad that one of the speakers talked about the culture of compliance. If all of us respected each other and understood that this exercise is just a mere exercise in taking a decision and not anything related to fisticuffs, we should not be at this conversation. The conversation clearly must be how best will this business we're going to conduct in a couple of days help improve and better our well-beings. That should be the conversation. It is no battle, and we should all encourage ourselves and our followers to desist from any act that the established rules frowns upon.
The Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, has set up a parallel coalition center to facilitate the flow of information to the public on Election Day. The center is expected to receive and process data on real-time events from the over 4,000 election observers who will be deployed across the country. This, according to CODEO, is to ease tensions on Election Day and increase the acceptability of results on Election Day. Meanwhile, acting CODEO Chair Sheikh Arimia Shaibu believes the declaration of December 7 as a holiday and the potentially huge numbers that are likely to show up at polling stations could lead to violence. Manuel Coranting has more in the following report.
Okay. So if they say they've sent it.
So there you have Daniel, one of the officers here at the NEF Center, or if you like, the National Information Center of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO. Well, this room will be the center where data will be collected from over 4,000 election observers who will be scattered across the country on Election Day, bringing information, real-time information from the ground. Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante is the coordinator of the center.
It's a nerve center for our observers to send in their data, their text messaging data, which we'll process and be able to share with the public in terms of how the elections are going. There are about 5 different events, we call them 5 events, that we'll be tracking. So right from the beginning, our observers are supposed to be there at 6 a.m. We want them to be able to be there and be able to report that they are there and they've been allowed to observe, so that at least we know that observers are in there. And then to observe the setup that the Electoral Commission is going to prepare for the voting process to start. So between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. by 7:30.
As this goes on, Sheikh Arimiyao Shaibu, who is the acting chair of Kodeyo, calls for security to be on high alert, especially as Election Day is declared a holiday. He believes the potential huge numbers to be at home should be acute to the security agencies.
Election Day has been declared as holidays. I think that we want to advise the security agencies to be more on the alert, because what it means is that almost everybody is at home, and polling stations may be crowded, and over-enthusiastic party loyalists may engage in some activity, and so this should trigger some strategic approach to the election security monitoring and how they execute their work. It helps people to stay at their work post. The polling station may not be too congested, and people may not have time to come and stay there again, except those who are not working. But majority of those who are working will have to go back to their workplaces and so on. So then that reduces the number that accumulates around the place. But now that is a holiday, what it means is that almost everybody will be free, and we anticipate that that crowding around could be misused by some people, and you know what, once election comes with enthusiasm, and I think that we should not underestimate this. The security agencies, I'm sure, having their intelligence, will be able to really handle matters when it comes there.
On his part, Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Dr. Serebo Kweku, said this will put the EC on its toes to deliver a credible election.
So we believe that Kodewo taking this step of helping to throw light on our activities would be good. So that whatever we are doing, we can look back and say somebody is watching us. We know we are going to recruit approximately 240,000 temporary staff for this exercise. We are operating 38,622 polling stations. So we know that it will not be easy for any observer to cover all the centers. But it is our request that the observers will not be concentrating in the urban areas. They should spread themselves to cover as many centers as they can, because their presence also adds to the fairness and the freeness of an election.
Just 4 days to the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections, the Electoral Commission says it is more than ready to deliver credible elections. According to the Deputy Chairman of the Commission, Dr. Bosman Asare, 6 EC officials have been assigned to each polling station. He believes the measures put in place will help the Commission declare the results of the presidential elections at most 24 hours after the close of polls.
The counting for the presidential, you can see about 4 steps. When we finish the voting at the polling station, within a constituency will have about, let's say, 150 polling stations. When we finish the counting at the various polling stations, then all of us will be heading to the constituency collation center, where all the various polling stations results will be put together, will be collated. And when they do that, the returning officer who works under the district officer of the commission in that area has that responsibility to be able to fax those results to the regional level. And after doing that, the person must also send a physical document to the region. And when you look at it, you know, some of the regions, some regions are very compact, like Greater Accra. It's possible when you finish at the constituency level. I don't think there is a constituency capital in Greater Accra where it will take you more than 2 hours to get to the head office of the commission at Sapeman. And those who are familiar with Ashanti region too, you can see Ashanti region is very, very compact. Within 3 hours, I don't think you will be in a constituency capital or a district capital in Ashanti, and you cannot get to the head office in Kumasi. We can see there are some few regions like Northern region, the Woolensey area to Tamale can be maybe more than that, 5-6 hours, etc. You look at places like Upper West, you may get places that are 6 hours, etc. So when you look at it critically, apart from faxing the document, you're also going to follow and send the main document. And we've made arrangement with the police, and they are supposed to ensure that those who are sending the document, they are escorted. And we shouldn't forget that if even you take a snapshot of the results, the political parties also have copies. And don't forget that when you finish the results, a copy is supposed to be pasted at the constituency office. And in Ghana, when things like that are pasted, I think people will be taking pictures of it. So clearly, but we as a commission will not rush to say we are declaring. We need to make sure that we've gotten everything correct. We need to make sure that we have compared the results. Even as the regions are collating the results of the various constituencies, we can also be doing that.
The wing of the governing NPP is described as a scam promised by former President Mahama and the NDC to absorb full tertiary fees for first-year students who gain admission to tertiary institutions in the 2020-21 academic year in the event that he wins next Monday's election. The NDC, in a statement early this week, said the decision to absorb the fees was in line with a recommendation by the Education Policy Group of the Manifesto Committee and has been incorporated into the party's 2020 People's Manifesto. Addressing a news conference Thursday afternoon, National Youth Organizer of the NPP, Henry Nanabuache, said the former president is throwing in that promise as a last-ditch attempt to deceive Ghanaians.
This is an ill-conceived campaign promise smuggled through the back door to add up to the litany of failed and uninspiring manifesto promises. The shambolic Faninina promise being the last straw that the NDC desperately seek to anchor their drowning campaign. Campaign on Ayade Atonso. Their drowning campaign, barely a week to the elections, is not only a propaganda tool, but it's also a sickening scam directed at downplaying the intelligence of voters. And we will tell you why. And this will not happen. Number one, the NDC has over the period said that their 2020 manifesto contains programs and policies proposed by the people of Ghana. The Chempe promise, which was made to believe that it was true and accurate reflection of the aspirations of the needs of the ordinary Ghanaians, has conspicuously changed. Isn't this strange that the people who supposedly asked for Chempe at the delicate period when COVID-19 had slowed economic activities, would vary their demands and ask for Faninina when economic activities have picked up momentum according to reliable data from Ghana's Statistical Service? The flip-flop disposition of candidate Mahama and his NDC tells us that they are confused and they lack ideas. And desperately, they think that they can say all these things for political power. Number two, again, the Ghanaian youth is of the strong conviction that the shambolic Faninina campaign promise, scruffily and hastily put together, is a knee-jerk reaction to the big announcement that was made recently by the Scholarship Secretariat that it was going to open up the scholarship portals for tens of thousands of young people, that is a Kufuor graduates, to apply and gain scholarship to further their education.
And I also described former President Mahama as a threat to the free senior high school policy. The NDC flag bearer has, however, justified the decision to revise their campaign promise. Speaking exclusively to my colleague Emefa Apau, the former president explained that Faninyina initiative is not entirely new, but an enhancement of the Chimpe policy targeted at continuing tertiary students already captured in the People's Manifesto.
Oh, the scholarship secretariat did?
Oh, okay. Yesterday they announced that you're giving
a scholarship to first years.
Yeah, first year students.
Okay, well.
That's after you announced the funding now.
Well, we didn't know that. What happens is our education committee, came up with a recommendation and said that the fees that the first years have to pay are quite bigger than what the continuing students pay. And so if you do the Chimpe policy, they are not likely to benefit as much as the continuing students. And so we should do something more, significant for them. And they did the costing and they brought it. The party looked at it, yeah. And the chairman called me and said, based on the recommendation of the education committee, they decided that for first years they would cover the full fees so that they can cushion them for the first year.
The Governing New Patriotic Party says it will continue to press on with its campaign despite the opinion polls forecasting it will win next week's election. According to the surveys, President Akufo-Addo will win a first-round victory. Campaign manager for the NPP, Peter McMenu, says though the party's own polling points to a margin of victory of over 1.5 million votes in the presidential and 66% of the parliamentary seats, they will not be complacent. He spoke with my colleague, Mama V. Oswald.
The campaign has been smooth. The campaign has been peaceful. The campaign has been civil, based on ideas. Me and my team, the campaign team, have been working extremely hard because our target, our objective, is to win one touch with a margin of victory of over 1.5 million votes in the presidential and 66% of the parliamentary seats, which is close to 198, 206. So once we had set ourselves these ambitious targets, it only takes a hard work to be able to achieve them. That's exactly what our team, the MPP campaign team, led by me, are doing.
You've set yourself, and as you say, an ambitious target. There are various polls that put you in the lead ahead of your main contender, the NDC's candidate, John Mahama. But there is also another poll that uses the statistical methodology that says that it won't be a one-touch victory in this 2020 election.
Well, you see, we do have been told by various researchers and pollsters that we're going to win one touch. Nevertheless, we're not going to go asleep. We are not going to be complacent. We are working extremely hard because, you see, in elections, the magic to the victory is hard work.
You're watching Joynews Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin, we'll be hitting the campaign trail where former President Mahama is in the OT region, urging the people not to be intimidated by the presence of the military.
Don't be intimidated. We noticed that there's been a deployment of military and security personnel in the region.
President Akufo-Addo, on the other hand, is in the eastern region.
Upper West Action. One better so soda. Tambia Mushatiana say. Latiniano, I see Tokro.
Stay tuned in. Business News is up next.
Hello, good evening. It's time for business. I'm Charles Aiche. Telecoms giant MTN Ghana says it's been given the nod by its shareholders to buy back in excess of 1 million shares of applicants who did not provide sufficient personal information to complete their know your customer requirement as required under the company's initial public offer. According to Chief Executive of MTN Ghana, Salamanda Devor, his outfit will proceed to return cash of approximately 860,000 cedis to the said shareholders. Bismarck Awusa has more from the virtual extraordinary general meeting organized at the MTN House earlier today.
MTN Ghana says the buyback of the shares will be at the IPO price of 75 pesos and comprises the cost of shares at 734,000 cedis and dividend accrued over the period of an amount of 126,000 cedis. Chief Executive of the telecoms operator, Salom Adadefo, spoke to Joy Business.
We're excited that we've been able to get this across the line. There are several Ghanaians who purchased shares and haven't had the opportunity to participate because of the incomplete KYC. So the objective now is to return the cash to them, including the dividends they've accrued, just to be fair. And hopefully some of them will see the announcement and update their KYC before the process begins. It's about 1 million customers at 75 plus dividends, which is approximately 860,000 Ghana cedis. Yeah, so we'll have the announcement with the buyback. Will be next week. We're working currently with the Security and Exchange Commission to complete the process. But there'll be an announcement in the papers and then we'll continue from there.
Mr. Adadefo says the company's decision to buy back the shares at 75 pesos with accrued dividend seeks to provide customers value for money.
The original investors, or at least the shareholders who purchased these shares, purchased them at 75 pesos. And buying them back at a lower rate will shortchange the customers. So we thought, in order to be fair to the buyers, we'll buy back at the 75 Ghana pesos plus the accrued dividend over the period. We thought that was what would represent a fair bargain and maintain our level of responsibility as a company.
Meanwhile, the telecoms giant will be celebrating its 25th anniversary in the year 2021. As part of the celebrations, the company has hinted of plans to support the fight against COVID-19 with 150 million cedis.
So next year is our 25th anniversary, and we thought as part of this we should dedicate some funds into a specific fund related to the COVID-19 recovery. So we've committed $25 million, which is approximately 150 million Ghana cedis, and we'll be working with governments to define a set of projects looking at digital inclusion, looking at digital expansion, all in our bid to become a digital economy in the coming years.
The MTN Ghana Extraordinary General Meeting brought together stakeholders, including the board and shareholders of the company. Bismarck Awusa, Joy Business.
The ratings agency Fitch says that African nations like Ghana, which have a credit rating of B and a stable outlook, will not default in repayment of its debt despite rising debt levels. Ghana's debt to gross domestic product hit about 71% by the end of September this year, after borrowing about 273 billion cedis. Addressing investors on the outlook of sub-Saharan African sovereign and debt markets, the head of the Middle East and Africa Sovereign Ratings, Jan Frederick, said the COVID-19 pandemic has brought some element of risk to Ghana and other sub-Saharan African countries.
To look at the countries that are currently at CCC, which are Angola, Cabo Verde, the Republic of Congo and Mozambique. And all of these countries now have debt ratios above 100% of GDP. And our definition of CCC essentially means that the risk of a default is a real possibility. Most of the other sub-Saharan African sovereigns are rated at B, which means that there is a material risk of default, but a limited margin of safety remains. So we are certainly not expecting defaults for this region, but we need to emphasize that, of course, the crisis has meant that risk levels are really exceptionally high. And it's also worth emphasizing the role of the international financial institutions in potential routes or paths towards a default. The World Bank and the IMF have recently been particularly clear that they advise all countries where debt levels are already at unsustainable levels, to try to restructure that as soon as possible.
And the Switzerland ambassador to Ghana, Philip Stalder, has disclosed that Ghana is the second largest trade partner for Switzerland. He said investment from his country to Ghana is about over $400 million, with over 50 Swiss companies in the country, which have given jobs to thousands of Ghanaians. Here is more.
The diplomatic relations between Ghana and Switzerland is 60 years. Switzerland, before recognizing the Republic of Ghana upon the latest attainment of independence already in 1938, had established a consulate which was upgraded to Consulate General in 1957. Today, the Ghana Embassy is one out of 11 embassies Switzerland maintains in sub-Saharan Africa. The Swiss Embassy in Accra has additional responsibility for the diplomatic and consulate affairs in Ghana, Benin, and Togo. Interacting with journalists in Wa, Switzerland ambassador to Ghana, Philip Stalder, noted that Ghana is Switzerland's second biggest trade partner in Africa and has over the years heavily invested in the country.
Indeed, 6 years ago, the Swiss Embassy in Northridge in Accra was established. Since then, we are permanently present. We started with development cooperation some 20 years ago, and if my numbers are correct, we invested to Ghana an amount of roughly $400 million over the last years. That's one part, but then I should also mention that we count about 50 to 60 Swiss companies. They come here with investments. They have sometimes big factories, and all in all, they provide thousands of jobs in Ghana. And then we have very good trade relations. So for us, Ghana is the second biggest trade partner in Africa.
And that'll be all for Business Sports. It's up next.
Time to bring you sports. My name is Hans Mensah. The head coach of Inter Henrik Lem believes a victory over Accra Hearts of Oak has given his team energy ahead of their game against Ken Faisal on Friday. According to him, though he lacks potent strikers, the positive energy will serve them good against the Inshallah boys.
Lost as many as 7 players in the transfer window, including 2 stars who combined to score 18 goals in 14 matches for the 11-1. This, according to head coach of the team, Henrik Lem, made it very difficult for them to have a unit capable of scoring goals. He says 90% of the work he does with the current crop of players at the training grounds is how they can make goals.
Ask this guy what I'm doing at practice. 90% is how to make goals. We all know that the people who make all our goals last year when I was here, they're not here. And the season's been so short, we didn't have time really to find a lot of strikers. I like working with this team because they're young and they really want to learn. You know, when I ask questions in the beginning, no one answers. They just look at me, why is this white man asking questions? You know, but now they start answering my questions. Now they start coming really and say, Henrik, if I do this, I do that. So when you have a team like this, we will grow. We will definitely grow. And you can see I used some players already from the academy. Collins had played a lot, and we have a lot of good young players coming from the academy, also practice the academy. So for me, Inter is a club that's very interesting for us in Europe because they bring so many young players up. And you can see from the last time I was here, 7 of those players I helped, most of them to Europe. So, of course, when we send so many players to Europe, it takes time to build a new team.
The 11-1 will face Ken Faisal on March 4 of the ongoing Ghana Premier League season. Henrik believes the last victory over Accra Hearts of Oak is an energizer for his boys ahead of that fixture.
I saw all the boys down in the dress room. I'm sure it gave them so much energy. You know, I love when they sing, dance, and are so happy. It gives the whole team energy. You know, if we have lost and we practice tomorrow morning, you know how everybody meet in like this? Tomorrow, you know what happened down there? 2 of them were kissing me. You know, I'm not used to that. So, of course, it gives energy to everybody.
The Allies have conceded 1 goal in the 3 matches played so far in the Ghana Premier League.
Now, British-born Ghanaian boxer Denzel Bendley has his sight on fighting at the biggest stage of boxing in the near future. He spoke to Nathaniel Lato.
I've always wanted to fight abroad or like in America and stuff, because those are the guys I watched when I started boxing. So you see American, you see how, you know, if you're a star in America, you're a star worldwide. But like you said, in Britain, we have like the best fans, especially where boxing's growing at the moment. Like, I don't think they can fill out arenas in America like they do in England.
No way.
It's a different
100,000 fans plus.
It's crazy. It's different. It's just different. So
yeah,
you know that you can't take away. But fighting in America, of course, the money's better. If you're a star there, like I said, you're a star worldwide, and it's a bigger country. So you know there's more to do out there. But as I've turned to be in the sport a bit more, I still want to go out to America and announce my name. But I feel like I want to come to fight in Ghana.
Okay.
Like a bit more, just to come back home and give something back to, not really give something back, but just announce myself on Ghanaian soil. Even if it's just one fight.
Okay, so you'd want to probably, work with one of the promoters here, collaborate and get something going.
Yeah, 100%. You know, like obviously I aspire to be at the top. So when I win my world title, I'd love to have a defense over here in Ghana, and maybe a few young Ghanaian boys that are working their way into the boxing game on the undercards and stuff. But those are future plans, future ideas. But to announce myself in the States, that would be great. If I'm being honest, the ones in Ghana, I don't really know. But the ones abroad,
yeah,
I do know, and I support them from a distance because they're Ghanaian. I always want them to win. Like, for example, Richard Comey when he fought Teofimo. Teofimo's a great fighter, but I was rooting for Richard Comey in that circumstances. Isaac Dogbo, he was doing very well in the States also. I saw he had a few fights back home, which made me feel like I can do it too. Joshua Boatsi, very good fighter, and I know he comes back here a lot to do things. So like a lot of the Ghanaians that are, abroad, whether in the States or in the UK, I follow.
That's it for now. We'll bring you more later in the bulletin.
Let's get on with the showbiz. And Becky Bex is here. Hello, Bex.
Hello to you, Easy Ease. How you doing?
I'm well.
I'm very excited. You know, whenever we have things that has to do with Ghanaian entertainment industry,
okay,
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for this particular one because we have Ghanaians in there. So it's something that is set. It's called the Mic Africa. It has to do with entertainers across. So we're not just talking about music, we're talking about art, we're talking about everything that has to do with the creative arts industry. And so the Mic Africa, I've been speaking to one of the organizers, is called Isaac Foko, just to explain to us exactly what it's about and why it's coming on Joy Prime. It's actually airing on Joy Prime this Sunday.
Oh, right.
Yes.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
and,
so
it looking forward to it.
Yeah, it premieres on Sunday at 4 p.m. So you should try and make a daytime.
By the way, that's my classmate.
Oh, wow. That's
childhood
nice.
buddies, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
All right, so what else? Oh, but there's something else that's happening.
Okay.
So Instagram has gotten a Ghanaian artist to design some creatives to be used, or design stickers. That's going to be used for our elections.
That's amazing.
So on election day, or just before election day, on election day. In fact, they're going to become operational on election day. So you can go on Instagram and choose, I voted, and David, if you can just pop up some of the...
That will be fantastic. Images. Do I have to pay for it? No.
No, you don't have to pay. I mean, it's just like stickers. And it happened in the US election. And
yes, I saw that. Okay. Oh, that's okay. So if you're a woman, you just use that.
Yeah, and they're trying so the Facebook folks have been telling me that they tried really hard to get Ghana, to get Facebook, which owns Instagram, to get to do a similar thing for Ghana. So that's what you get.
Okay. What if I don't vote?
Well, if you don't vote, then you're not going to use any of them. But lots of people will be voting. It's supposed to encourage people. And the person who designed
is a Ghanaian.
The creator is a Ghanaian. She's called Awo Chega Atukwe.
Oh, congratulations. I love it when, we have our people doing incredible things out there.
Yep.
You should design
so
something.
I would check Tuga apparently has been doing some fantastic work.
Yeah.
I didn't know until I went on her Instagram
page
to go to find out all the great stuff that she's been doing.
We'll look out for that. We'll look out for
on
that.
Election day.
But let's stay on election-related issues and talk about John Dumelo and the other actors. The back and forth. Oh, that's your constituency is Ayawaso West Ward.
No, it's not. My constituency.
Oh, are you sure?
Adenta.
Okay, so we all know that John Dumelo is.
I drive to Ayawaso all the
time. Why, you don't want to belong to Ayawaso West Ward?
No, I'm not there.
So why is David saying that you are?
I wonder.
So John is at Ayawaso West Ward. We also know that call her Lydia. Yeah, she is also there. So what happened is that we have few actors that Prince David Osei, we have Calibos, we have a number of them, Kwesi Oting, going there to support. Obviously, they're all supporting the New Patriotic Party.
So we know them to be supporters of the governing
NPP.
Right. And there's a campaign or there's a parliamentary contest in Ayawaso West Wogon. They decide that, okay, we're going there
to support our candidate.
Yeah.
And so
people have taken issues with it.
A lot of people. And I don't even know where to begin this from, but my point is I just want to be sure, Easy, do you think that they're right to go there too? Because a lot of people are thinking, okay, you have your own colleague there and you're campaigning against your own colleague. Calibos came out to say that, no, we're not campaigning against our colleagues. Stop inciting hate. We're just there to support our, party.
Yeah, our party's candidate.
And this has nothing to do with that. And they've been going back and forth.
So I actually disagree with people who say that, yes, you have your own, colleague in there. Otherwise, they would expect that all lawyers would say they're supporting President Akufo because he's a lawyer. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I mean, people have their choices, and they're free to decide where or who they want to support.
Well, I don't know.
That's my view,
though. Yeah, it has a lot to do with the entertainers endorsing, politics. It's just there's just something in there that I think needs to be fixed. What do you think? That a person should have the right to support, one political party or the other.
Should be free.
Why are people not even attacking people who are supporting Ikuya Donko? Like me, I love Ikuya Donko. I'm just. I think it needs to.
Apparently, Calibos has come out with.
Yeah, he did. He said that essentially it's a very long letter. Right. Essentially, he's saying that stop inciting hate.
Yeah, and then I see this photo that's accompanying the post.
The post, yeah.
And it's like
they know
at this point, yeah. The picture, like you say, the picture is worth 1,000 words.
I just noticed.
There, I mean, John Dumelo is just.
But they're all reading, basically. Easy, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm sure after the 7th of December, which obviously you have to stick to the election headquarters.
They'll come together.
Well, they will, come together. So let's wrap up with Bisakede. Remember his big collaboration in the Netflix movie. He's been telling us that he's gotten a lot of links, and he's, now in talks with Netflix and other people who are willing to project his music out to the rest of the world. Congratulations.
Studying to become a doctor can be a Herculean task, but that did not deter one family man from pursuing his dream. With a wife and 2 children to cater for, he went all out to be what he wanted to be. That's the story of Abdul Ganiu Haruna, the Accra College of Medicine's newly graduated doctor who won 9 out of 15 awards at the school's graduation. Abdul and his mates became the first set of medical doctors to graduate from a private medical school in Ghana. There's more in this report.
Tetefio Ibavera Akuyu Adimola Morinke Olikemi Makafui, Abdul Haruna Ganiyu.
Abdul Ganiyu Haruna receiving one of the 9 awards at the recent Accra College of Medicine graduation. He's part of the first batch of students to graduate as doctors from a private medical school in Ghana. Abdul Ganiyu Haruna says although he's married with many responsibilities, that did not deter him.
On a personal note, I want to thank the love of my life, my wife, Barikisu, for supporting and believing in me all these years, despite the challenges. I want to thank my son and daughter for believing in me, and inspiring me as well, and for understanding why Daddy had to study when they wanted a piece of me.
Abdul Ganiyu Haruna was the valedictorian. He has been recounting some of the exciting moments in school.
We were taught by interesting lecturers like Dr. Patient Tete Kwaku, aka Mugu Mugu, who took a time to illustrate almost all the symptoms of the various worm infestation. After a 24-hour duty with our medical teams, we had to still show up the next morning for a tutorial session.
President of the Accra College of Medicine, Professor Ifwahese, says one of the challenges of medical school education in Ghana is that many students qualify but do not get access to public universities.
This is the first medical school in Ghana, private medical school, to have graduated students. And the challenges in private medical education are support for students. A lot of students qualify to enter medical school, but there are not enough places in the public institutions. And this offers them the opportunity to get medical education as well. The plea is if we could get support with scholarships for students who come to us, more support. Some is offered, but we need more. If we could get some concessions on teaching materials, if we could get some tax rebates on teaching materials, and support, that would also help us.
Council Chairman of the Accra College of Medicine, Professor Emeritus Stephen Adey, urged the new doctors to stand out.
The call of a doctor is one of the most important vocations on earth, as their work touches not only the physical well-being of human beings, but also know that our physical well-being is linked to our emotions, our feelings, our thinking, and our spiritual well-being. But most importantly, the Bible says our body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. In other words, our physical state affects our spiritual well-being too. I urge you to go to see to the well-being of the total persons that will come your way.
Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Mary Chinrihesi, urged the newly graduated doctors from the Accra College of Medicine to be incorruptible.
I strongly advise that you should not fall into a temptation of wanting to get rich quickly, as has become common with a lot of our youth and regrettably some of our leaders. Remember that the medical profession is a noble and honorable one.
Various awards were presented to students who distinguished themselves during their studies. The graduates are excited they are the first students to graduate from a private medical school in Ghana.
NDC presidential candidate John Mahama says the MPP parliamentary candidate for Hohoe, John Peter Amewu, would have used his influence to bring the needed development to Hohoe Township if he truly loved it. Speaking at a rally in the Volta region town, John Mahama stated the current administration has halted all the good projects that would transform Hohoe and the region, including the Eastern Corridor roads.
All the major things that would transform Hohoe for 4 years have been halted. The Eastern Corridor road project. Hohoe is going to be a major commercial stop on the Eastern Corridor. It is going to promote economic activity in Hohoe, and everybody in Hohoe will feel the benefit of that road, because every vehicle coming down the Eastern Corridor will make a stop in Hohoi to either buy something to eat, to drink some coffee, to refresh themselves, to rest before they continue their journey. That will stimulate economic activity in Hohoi. NDC was working on this road. We awarded the Jansikan stretch to Have, to Rolida. We didn't finish before we left office. One would have thought that for a government and a person who wants to be go to parliament on the wings of the people of Hohoi, as a leading minister in this government, he would have used his influence to let this government continue the Eastern Corridor Road. He's not been able to do so.
He has been urging residents not to allow the presence of the military in the region to deter them from coming out to vote on December 7.
Don't be intimidated. We noticed that there's been a deployment of military and security personnel in the region. Don't let it intimidate you. Please come out in your numbers and vote. We need your vote more than ever before. This is the most critical election we are going into, and every single vote is important. It will make the difference between continuing down the wrong track with Akufo-Addo and his family and salvaging our nation and taking our nation back. We are on a rescue mission. We must rescue this nation for our children and our grandchildren. And the moment is now, and all of us must rise to the occasion. Don't think that your one vote is meaningless. It is the one single vote that make up the majority that wins an election. Little drops of water make a mighty ocean.
The campaign stopped by the NDC flag bearer comes weeks after President Akufo-Addo also visited to campaign for Energy Minister Peter Amewu to be elected as MP for Hohoi. Mr. Mahama urged the electorate to also vote for the NDC's parliamentary candidate and not vote skirt and blouse, as that will stall the much-needed development they need if the NDC wins. Now, on the other hand, President Akufo-Addo is making a final push for votes in his home region, the Eastern region. The third was populated with over 1.6 million voters. The president told a cheering crowd at Kotoku in the Akim Modan constituency the election is about the future of the country.
Electoral Commission ma yetimi ato aba ma obia betimi akoto naba asembie ni hono osrane mimma 7th of December an annual public holiday IPACA oni wonso so ade no so enso de wonso wa ho de keche itianra ena me sign krata no abema juada ISL public holiday wogana and yenina etimi akwa akotuaba ohabiani timisramo adwada no obia watro ni din a okuta ne ka esa okona akotuaba mentrefie nkase o nana kura wanya ntehia se metumaba wonto wodia nana onyae.
Information Minister Kojopo Nkrumah, who is also the MP for Fuaso Ayirebi, says the president has shown leadership and competence in the management of the country's resources.
Nana do danko Akufo-Addo katre say obaya free SHS onye okaso obaya planting for food and job onye okaso obama nkwala enye aduma nakomae okase enyam kani abedia so enye bema onsi mo ansano ham bema osia oyo sene Ghana kona nimwa ne oma na basu nibide nana adodankwa Akufo-Addo.
At the Upper West Akim constituency, a stronghold of the NDC, President Akufo-Addo told the electorate to reject the NDC in the upcoming polls while urging them to come out and vote on Monday.
Upper West Akim, Mometra Solo Soda, Tambia, Mushatingiana say, Latiniano, Afi, Toku Kromukwa and Ababesha Yelu. Tokrokwa and Ababesha Yelu. It means now. Yelu to me now. Him, to me now. And Brenaso. Say Upper West. Achim constituency. Mombrana Mombetra or Sono so Namonfa or Sono and and they say Ajuma Modesha Mensano Moja Metumia Yana Metumia.
Hello, good evening. It's time for business. I'm Charles Aitib. Ghana is among West African producing countries. 80% of the continent's cashew nuts being processed, only 5 to 6% of its cashew output. Industry players point to inadequate local processing factories and unfavorable pricing as factors for the low processing output. Now, as the Tree Crop Development Authority begins work, Prince Appiah engages farmers and stakeholders on the way forward. Here's more.
Dauda Idrisu is a farmer at Dokochna in the Hafo region. He has been cultivating yam for the past 5 years, but he has had to switch to cashew production. We realized cashew was helping the people here, so we became serious with it. It was more profitable than yam, so I switched. The land too was favorable for cashew cultivation than yam. Dauda, however, says poor pricing in the industry is a disincentive to the few cashew farmers.
The
cashew business didn't help us this year. The Europeans are the buyers, but they didn't come this year. The local buyers bought them at lower prices, so we made losses. Last year, we sold a bag for 700 cedis, but this year was 400 cedis. The situation, compounded by the impact of COVID-19, extends beyond the Dokochna community to other cashew growing communities like Sampa in the Bono region. Here, about 20% of the cashew nuts and fruits go waste because they are left unpicked from the farms. Edmond Ajman is chairman of German North Cashew Farmers Association.
When we are collecting, the collecting is another part. One person can collect 40 to 50 kilos a day. The price is always dwindling. They'll buy a kilo today, 5 cedis, tomorrow they'll buy it 1 cedi, 50 pesos. And since we are not having no factories here for us to work with them, we have to give them to them like that.
We are here in Kabile, also in the German North District. After drying the nuts, processing is required. But this equipment in this factory can only semi-process the cashew nuts. The unshelled nuts are steamed to soften the shell and then carefully cut open manually. Workers here have had to use their bare hands and local equipment to break out the shells. Nimdie Shreng Cashew Processing Company is one of the local processors whose capacity cannot meet the local demand. Charles Kwame Kuma, a CEO.
Capacity is 600 metric tons of the raw nuts, which will yield 150 metric tons of kernel annually. But as it is now, I'm just operating the raw nuts 300 metric tons, which is giving only about 45 metric tons of kernels. And now it has become a big industry that the way we were doing it with manual is no more profitable. In fact, the level of the cashew we have as at now, if all processed in Ghana, Ghana is able to get $400 million annually as gross income from the cashew industry. And if we continue to sell it as a raw, we are going to get only about 1/3 of such money.
Faced with obsolete equipment and financial support, they are inadequate in capacity because of the disinterest.
The authority is made up of 29 members.
In September this year, the government launched the Tree Crop Development Authority to regulate and improve the production, processing and trading of cashew and 5 other tree crops. Dauda is convinced he will increase his production and cultivate all the 10-acre land if the pricing problem is addressed. Dr. Robert Ado is an agriculture economist at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He says value addition should be the focus of the new authority.
The few factories that are around, or what you call companies that are adding value to cashew nut, they are very, very small scale operation. In fact, I think the biggest one is the one we see in Mim. Yeah, there's a big factory there, and that is even medium scale. So we don't have factories that can add value to more than 1,000 metric tons per year. So this is where the 1D, 1F10 also fits in. So where we have a lot of cashew, like Wenchi and largely in the Bono region, if we can have a plant which is as big as the one we see in Mim to add to this, then you see that the country can add a lot of value. Currently, the FOB price, farmers get just less than 70% of it.
He suggests the private sector must be empowered to set up large plants to absorb the excesses.
I think we need strong private sector participation in the cashew value chain, and the private sector can step in at the value addition point.
So until the Tree Crop Development Authority becomes fully operational, for these challenges to be addressed, the industry will continue to struggle.
And that was our food chain and agribusiness-based program in our segment on business. Now, meanwhile, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, is embarking on an ambitious plan to attract over $25 billion from non-traditional exports by 2029. Now, this will include the processing of crops for export. Alex Zajawa is Director of Projects at the authority. He spoke to me earlier on the marketplace.
The strategy outlines 3 main pillars on which the strategy rests. The first one has to do with the supply capacity of the products that we have currently. We have recognized that Ghana really does not have the capacity in terms of production to be able to meet the growing demand of the quality Ghanaian products that we have in the international market. So the strategy, outlines various strategies and interventions aimed at boosting our raw material supply. That ties in with government's own agenda of industrializing our economy, as it were. So the products that we have targeted will be given a lot of boost in order to increase their production that will feed the industries that are coming up, particularly under the One District, One industry project of government.
One district, one factory. Well,
so Alex, products, we are dealing with mainly products in the horticultural sector, but beyond that also we are looking at transforming the products into industrial products. For example, we are targeting cocoa products, even to the extent of chocolates, because that is where we know we fetch the money. So if we are doing under $1 billion currently of processed cocoa, i.e. mainly in the form of powder and butter, if we finish these products in Ghana by way of producing chocolate, which some of our factories are already doing. For example, Niche Cocoa is doing marvelously well in production of chocolate. We expect that this will give us a lot more resources in terms of foreign revenue going forward.
And we shall follow the National Export Development Strategy closely to give you updates on our non-traditional exports. That's how we end business. Sport is up next.
And it's time to bring you the second installment of Sports here on Joynews Prime, and we are 4 days away from going to the polls, and politicians are giving it the final push to win the mandate of their people. One of such politicians is Member of Parliament for the Adentan constituency, Yao Boabin Asamoah. He has cut sword for the construction of an astroturf at Adringano. My colleague Asari Bediako has the rest of the story.
This is the Adringano School Park here in Accra. It is bumpy and undulating, but local footballers who play on this pitch will be smiling soon because a sword has been cut for the construction of an ultra-modern, state-of-the-art astroturf. Speaking during the sword cutting ceremony on Wednesday, Member of Parliament for Adenta, Honorable Yao Boabin Asamoah, underscored the importance of this project.
The aim of Adentan constituency is to have a vibrant social sporting life for the youth. It has its advantages. It brings bonds between the youth. It opens opportunities for commercial success. And above all, it showcases the constituency as well. Now we are aspiring to league status in order to be sure that we are able to play in the GFA rankings. And one of the prerequisites is to have standard size pitches. So we have 2 opportunities for standard size pitches. There's one already under construction and this one. So we sought support for this process. Unfortunately for us, with the help of a leader in the community associated with Ghana Gas, as part of their corporate social responsibility towards the youth, which is a program they are running, a program to support the youth, Ghana Gas was kind enough to include Adentan in providing a facility that will serve the interests of the youth.
Robert Coleman, Chief Executive Officer of the company, hopes to construct an artificial pitch in every constituency in the country by 2024.
To the one constituency, one artificial turf concept where we are running. You know, somewhere 4 or 5 years ago, we started with this concept. And let me use this opportunity to congratulate His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I think his endorsement or his government's endorsement of what we are running is what has brought us this far. Last week, we were in Second D, another project that was spearheaded or sponsored by Ghana Gas. As I speak to you now, we are doing DCHEMSO, we are doing Tema Newtown, we are doing Sakumono, we are doing Mexico Park, we are doing a lot.
Wembley Sports Construction Company Limited are experts in high-quality artificial pitches. The company has constructed several astro pitches across the country.
And that's it for sports. There is more at myjoyonline.com/sports. My name is Hans Mensand.
Right, and that'll be all for Joynews Prime for this evening. I'm Israelite. Thank you very much for watching. Up next, we're bringing you PM Express Business Edition with George Raffi. Do stay tuned in.